WCTV follows along for Honor Flight Tallahassee, recognizing our local veterans for their service and sacrifice. It's our honor.
1 month ago today, dozens of local heroes boarded a charter flight to our nation's capital.
That's right. The group landed back in Tallahassee 14 hours later, and many of those veterans returned with a new perspective, appreciation, or closure.
Welcome to It's Our Honor, our tribute to Honor Flight Tallahassee 2024. This is the 10th Honor Flight Tallahassee, and like the others, this one a diverse group, different wars, different veterans, different lives lived. There were 76 veterans this year.
And joining us on this year's flight, 70 veterans served in Vietnam, 5 served during the Korean War, and 1 served in World War II, and we'll have more on him in just a moment.
But we want to begin with our Savannah Kelly, who joins us now from the Challenger Learning Center, where our special is being broadcast to those Honor Flight veterans. And Savannah, what a trip it was for those vets.
Absolutely, Jacob. These Honor Flight veterans are here at the Challenger Center where the special is being broadcast live. It's a chance for them to relive that experience and see all of those memories and moments from their trip to DC reflected back to them on the big screen here in the Challenger Center's planetarium. Now, to kick things off, we want to start with a recap of the day. So here's a look at what Honor Flight veterans experienced as part of Honor Flight 2024. The day started before sunrise at the Tallahassee airport. Veterans had breakfast and met up with their guardians who would accompany them throughout their trip. As they boarded the charter plane, dozens of well-wishers gathered to see them off.
It's respect. I mean, they give all for us. If it wasn't for what they do over there, wherever it may be, Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, whatever, we're here because of them.
About 2 hours later, they were welcomed to the Baltimore airport with a water cannon salute.
Here it comes.
What was waiting for them off the plane was an even bigger surprise. A crowd of people giving them the hero's welcome they deserve. After that, it was on to the buses and off to the monuments. The first stop, the World War II Memorial.
Colors, halt!
At 104, Joseph Williams is the only World War II vet on this year's Honor Flight. The monument is a tribute to him and the 16 million others who served in that war.
It just makes you think about all the men and women that passed, defending our country.
Next, the Korean and Vietnam Veterans Memorials, where veterans paid their respect to those who fought beside them and didn't make it home.
It's bringing tears to my eyes, because they never did get a chance to see what their children, grandchildren, and what real life was all about.
This trip, a chance to remember, reflect, and be recognized, to sift through memories collected through a life of service.
It's overwhelming.
After a brief stop at the U.S. Marine Corps War Memorial featuring the statue of flag raisers at Iwo Jima, veterans made their way to Arlington National Cemetery. There, veterans watched the changing of the guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. The tomb represents all service members who died in battle whose remains are either missing or unidentified. After a long day at the nation's capital, veterans and their guardians returned home, greeted with a final welcome. Now, every single one of these 76 veterans has their own unique story to tell. And of course, we didn't have time to capture every single one of them, but we hope that our coverage gives a small glimpse into just how impactful this experience was. We'll check back in here at the Challenger Center later on in the hour, but for now, I'll send it back to you in the studio.
And Savannah, we look forward to that. Thank you so much. All month long, we've been raising money to help send local veterans on next year's Honor Flight. If you'd like to help give this once-in-a-lifetime experience to a local military veteran, please consider donating to the nonprofit Honor Flight Tallahassee. WCTV is extending this fundraiser into the summer as we work to meet our $15,000 goal. You can donate now through July 4th by simply scanning the code on your screen with your smart device, or head to our website, WCTV.tv, and click on the It's Our Honor tab, where you can also find the link to donate.
As we mentioned a moment ago, of the 76 veterans on the flight, just one fought in the Second World War.
And Madison, you caught up with Joseph Williams on our trip to Washington. What was that like?
Ava, Jacob, it's not every day that you meet an 104-year-old. This World War II vet says the trip to D.C. was incredible, bringing up many different emotions from his past. And though the day was a wet one, he did enjoy himself.
Well, you know, an experience that I never had before, that's one.
104-year-old Joseph Williams arriving at the Aero Center bright and early on Honor Flight Day to a crowd full of cheer. Those greetings would continue all day long for the veteran. As naval cadets, guardians, and even strangers thanked him for his service.
I had no idea it was thinking about me, so that was really wonderful.
Marion Hilliard, Joseph's grandson-in-law, was his guardian for the trip. He recalls the moment he wheeled Joseph into the World War II memorial for the first time.
Just to be here with him, it gives me chills now. You know,
That's something.
we don't always get an opportunity to experience something where somebody's reflected upon in such a manner. So many handshakes and people who were sincere.
The veteran served in the Navy in the Pacific Theater. Marion says he's thankful for the opportunity to hear real stories from Joseph.
And he's just a wealth of information, number one. Number two, it's interesting just to see his point of view, because you're getting a true sense of somebody's interpretation of what they're feeling at that point in time, not something that was read on the book.
And for Angela Hilliard, Joseph's granddaughter, it's who Joseph is outside of the uniform that makes her the proudest.
I can't be more happier to have my grandfather, one still living with me, and just being able again to share those great moments with him.
Joseph humbled to the very core, hoping that his sacrifices made our country a place worth living.
I hope I've given some good service in my life towards making this world a better place to live.
Now, this trip was packed full a lot of firsts for this hero. This was also his first time ever being on a plane, and he says it was one of his favorite parts of the entire trip.
Oh man, Madison, I had the chance to speak with him, with you, and he's so humble too, as was seen in your package. You just hope he made a difference in life, and he certainly did.
He certainly did. And still ahead, the long road to closure. After 50 years, we'll show you how some Vietnam veterans are finally getting the thanks they deserve.
A half-century is a long time to wait, but some of these veterans are finally receiving the long-awaited thank you they so richly deserve. Many of the Vietnam veterans on the flight this year are in their late 80s or 90s.
That's right, and those that I spoke to said they were not expecting the hero's welcome that they got when we went to the airport in Baltimore. They were completely overwhelmed, and it was incredible and extremely emotional to see them finally get the acknowledgement that they should have received for serving our country. Take a look. A hero's welcome, long overdue.
Welcome. Did you expect such a welcome?
No, I did not. Oh, God.
Of the 76 veterans who landed at the Baltimore airport on Honor Flight Tallahassee, 70 served in Vietnam.
I've been wanting to come on this for a long time, and I kept putting it off, but I'm so glad I'm here.
In 1982, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial was dedicated in Washington, D.C., inscribed with the names of 57,939 members of the U.S. Armed Forces who had died or were missing as a result of the war. Over the years, hundreds more have been added. Ronnie Herring served in Vietnam from 1968 to 1970. He brought some of his memories of that time to the memorial wall in a yellow folder.
A lot of people on this wall is right here in this folder here that I graduated with and was in service together with. A lot of the names is right here on this wall, and it'll bring tears to your eyes when you look at that wall.
A wall of black granite so shiny that visitors can see their reflection at the same time as the engraved names, connecting the past and the future.
When I look at the wall, I feel that I don't see my name there, but I feel a hurt the families are having.
For the Vietnam veterans on this trip, the memorial is a place to reflect, remember, grieve, and heal.
When I saw this wall, I almost broke down right there because I knew that was my first step to healing, coming over that wall, coming over that hill and seeing this wall. And that's what this wall was built for, to try to heal this country, because we were not welcomed home when we came home. And that's what it was built for, to try to bring this country back together.
Service and sacrifice during Vietnam and welcome home service.
Now, I bet you I've had 100 people today to tell me thank you for your time in service. It means a lot. Thank you goes a long ways.
It certainly does, and to all of our Vietnam veterans and our veterans, we say thank you for your service.
Thank you indeed. And to be at the wall when those Vietnam veterans first see it is unlike anything else. And so many of those veterans arrive at the wall searching for a name that they've kept close to their heart for decades. That was true for George Lockett. I met him as he was searching for his friend who died in Vietnam, Joseph Frankowiak. Lockett told me they grew up with each other, closer than brothers, then they both left for Vietnam.
He got in about 6 months after I did. He was down south, I was up north when I found out that he got killed. It gives me a little closure, a little. It hurt, big time, but it's just, unfortunately, I made it back and he didn't, you know.
Like so many do, he received a sketching of his friend's name to keep for the rest of his life.
Still ahead, a young Monticello man killed in the war just days after raising the flag over Iwo Jima. Nearly 80 years later, his childhood friend carries his legacy forward.
As we head to break, we want to take a quick moment to highlight this very special moment captured by our cameras on the trip. That's Tallahassee City Commissioner Curtis Richardson attending this year's honor flight, but was surprised by his naval cadet daughter that he hadn't seen in months. She was among the cadets to greet the veterans at the Baltimore airport as they got off the plane.
It's a brief but powerful stop each year during Honor Flight, a visit to the Marine Corps Memorial, depicting the iconic photo taken on Iwo Jima on February 23, 1945, a seismic moment in American history, preserved in bronze for future generations.
But that was the second time Marines raised an American flag on Iwo Jima that day. The first isn't as famous, but is certainly cherished in Monticello, because among the men who defied the odds to raise Old Glory that morning, one of Jefferson County's most beloved sons. Take the north exit off Monticello's courthouse roundabout, and just a few blocks away, the peaceful and solemn Roseland Cemetery, resting place of Ernest Boots Thomas, killed 79 years ago, 7,000 miles away on Iwo Jima.
It's hard to even talk about it now.
99-year-old Dr. Jim Sledge lives a couple minutes away from his childhood friend's grave. He spent a good part of his near century on Earth telling his old pal's story.
Boots was closer than a brother would be.
Sledge remembers Boots enlisting on his 18th birthday. No fear, only an unwavering passion to get to Paris Island to train to be a Marine.
He said, I've got blisters on my head and on my feet, on my back. He said, I'm sunburned. I love it.
Eventually, he'd ship out as part of the 5th Marine Division, their target an island at the edge of Japanese territory, Iwo Jima.
Oh, it was hell.
After intense fighting, Boots' platoon raised a small American flag on Mount Suribachi. And while a second, larger flag would make the front pages back home, it was Boots who joined CBS Radio's Don Pryor aboard the Admiral's flagship.
He is Platoon Sergeant Ernest I. Thomas, and that is the tough 20-year-old fighting man from Tallahassee, Florida.
With the whole nation listening, Boots' modesty shined through.
The honor belongs to every man of our platoon. 3 of us actually raised the flag.
I was so proud that he wanted to share. That it wasn't something he had done as an individual. It was his platoon.
8 days after raising the flag, Boots was killed.
When you're 20 years old, you're indestructible.
His death stunned Sledge and the rest of Monticello, but cemented a vital task to keep his memory and story alive for generations.
We pass by the memorial pretty much every day going in and out of Monticello. It's right there as you come in.
Jeff Mims, like most other Monticello residents, knows Boots' story and the memorial that stands on US 90 depicting a photo of the first flag raising. Mims, a guardian for his father-in-law, among the small Jefferson County contingent on this year's honor flight.
Reverence and honor for the guys that gave the ultimate sacrifice.
Standing at the Iwo Jima Memorial as raindrops fell, he couldn't help but think of the hometown hero.
We're very proud of him.
Mims had not met Dr. Sledge before, so just days after honor flight, he arrived at Sledge's home.
His senior year when he graduated.
To get the full Boots Thomas story.
It's just a humbling experience.
A passing of the torch to carry a legacy.
It's more important now than ever because they need to know our history.
And for Sledge, his lifelong mission to honor a friend has paid off.
Most anybody, you go uptown and say, mention Boots Thomas to somebody, they can tell you the story.
I could have spent the entire day talking to Dr. Sledge. He's terrific. Now, he does have a remarkable story in his own right. He was in the Air Force in 1945, but never saw combat. That's because the week he was supposed to ship out, the U.S. bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He did go on honor flight back in 2008 before Tallahassee had their own version. He says that trip to D.C. to see the Iwo Jima Memorial and the World War II Memorial was a highlight of his life.
You know, it's just so cool to see these stories are in our own backyard, right? Like that's the whole idea of Honor Flight, is to share the stories of people in our community, and who would have thought unless you didn't know.
You can go right down US 90 to visit the memorial.
How awesome. And still to come, fighting the same battle. We'll highlight 3 women who use their time in the military as a model.
Of the 76 veterans aboard Tallahassee Honor Flight's 10th mission, only 3 were women. And while their experiences in the armed forces were different, all 3 served in the same war and branch. Our Madison Glazier joining us now in studio with more. Now, Madison, what is the overall message that these women wanted to share?
Yeah, so there were 2 messages that were echoed by these women throughout the day. 1, that they deserve to be on this trip, and 2, that women can do whatever they put their mind to. Now, we want to introduce you to those women. These are 3 women you're looking at on your screen right now, from left to right, who served in the Navy during the Vietnam era. Meet Melinda Topics, Lynette Halter, and Rita Ann Schultz.
Today, to be honored here, I think we all can say we're pretty touched by this.
For these women, the flight is a mark of honor.
For the 3 of us as women veterans,
we're treated as equals.
It's emotional, it's touching, it's an honor. That's the only word I can keep thinking of. It's just such an honor to be here, because so many people don't even know that we're military women.
The honor, not only for themselves, but the other women who didn't make it home. While women weren't allowed to serve in combat during the Vietnam War era, there were still plenty of women who were deployed and put in the face of danger.
There were women in harm's way in Vietnam. There were women who were killed in Vietnam.
Inside the National Mall sits the first and only memorial that honors military women. It's the Vietnam Women's Memorial, honoring the 265,000 civilian and military women who served.
It was very emotional.
Makes you proud.
Yes.
I felt like it showed strength and compassion both, as well as it showed that they didn't all look alike.
The memorial, a representation for the many roles women played at that time, from military nurses to war correspondents. The dedication to women came over a decade after the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, sparking the acknowledgement for service women from that era.
Even if we didn't serve in combat, we're equals. Doesn't matter what branch of service. We happen to all have chosen the great Navy, but it doesn't matter what branch as long as we serve. And we can represent and motivate other women to do the same.
While the role women serve in the military has evolved since then, these women remember the challenges they faced for women's rights today.
I mean, the things I was qualified for, the civilian world, I couldn't even get a job because they weren't doing women yet. I was the first in the military, in the Navy, to do these jobs, but then when I got out, I thought I could get a job, and I had to change a whole different direction. So it's changed a lot.
You know what's interesting is that one of the organizers actually tell me that for Tallahassee's Honor Flight, 1/3 of the people who sign up are women, and all 3 women tell me that this trip was really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and they're truly thankful for each and every thank you that they received.
And I'm so glad that they're finally getting the recognition that they certainly deserve. The word guardian means defender, protector, keeper. On Honor Flight Tallahassee, guardians play a significant role ensuring that every veteran has a safe and memorable experience. Honor Flight guardians come from all walks of life and age groups. Some are veterans themselves, others just everyday people who give their time, spirit, and funds to spend a day in living history. And during my time traveling to Washington with Honor Flight, I spoke to dozens of guardians, each with their own story. And one of the stories that stood out was meeting the proud children of veterans on Honor Flight who were acting as guardians themselves. A journey of father and son begins in the past.
By being a Vietnam veteran, I remember when I used to fly in Atlanta with my uniform on, I had to take it off to go home. So it's a different world now.
And continues into a more understanding present. Ernest Reed served in the Navy from 1971 to 2001. His guardian on his Honor Flight trip to Washington, D.C. is his youngest son, Ernest Reed Jr.
It's cool I get to share this experience with my father because he did do 29 years in the Navy. He did it, but as a family we did it together, you know, and it's a great thing to show appreciation to those who gave so much.
Korean War veteran Richard Woodward's guardian is his daughter, Leah Wiley. She says the trip deepened her understanding of who her father is.
I feel like I get to know him a little bit better as well. We've always known that Daddy was a veteran. He was in the military. He was in the military during the Korean conflict. But we didn't hear about it much.
For many veterans, some stories are just too hard to tell. Some memories too painful to relive.
It's been a long time since I've even thought much about the war years. And I really, when I first started talking about it with my daughter, I wasn't excited very much because I remember such sad things.
But in the supportive company of fellow veterans, family, and friends, the process of healing and sharing can begin.
It's just a beautiful thing to continue learning our family story and Daddy's contribution really to building America and making us safer. So it means a lot to me.
And Richard Woodward told me that taking the trip to Washington, D.C. and being able to share his experience with his daughter and the rest of the veterans was the most exciting thing that had ever happened to him. Coming up, an unbreakable bond, how one veteran's trip to D.C. was made even more special by sharing it with a loved one. For one Korean War veteran, the highlight of his trip wasn't just seeing a monument, but sharing the entire experience with a loved one.
Korean War Army veteran Richard Van Atta hitched a ride to D.C. for this year's Honor Flight. His Navy veteran granddaughter, Emily Childs, tagged along as his guardian, making this an unforgettable trip.
That's right. Our Madison Glazier caught up with them in Madison. They share a very special bond.
Ava, Jacob, this grandfather-granddaughter duo have created a bond that is hard to put into words. I mean, just take a look at them right here. How cute are the two? So there's actually a 70-year age gap between the two. One is just as clever as the other, though, even though Richard Van Atta is in his 90s and Emily Childs is in her 20s.
I think this is going to be something that we share for the rest of our lives.
Navy veteran Emily Childs joining her grandfather, Richard Van Atta, on this year's Honor Flight. Van Atta is a Korean War Army veteran.
It was great to be able to be there in such an emotional moment for him. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how to put it into words. It was.
You too.
Love you. it was just great to be there with somebody who's been a huge part of my life for so long.
They both share a bond made deeper thanks to Honor Flight.
I don't like her. She just, I paid her to come along with it. Oh, special. Yeah, I've been with her for a long time. So, yeah, she's special.
They both wear different uniforms, having served in different branches. So I had to ask if there was ever any family competition. Now you tell me who you believe.
No, we've never discussed that. Yeah. She making signs behind my back, isn't she?
Though this wasn't Richard's first time visiting the Korean War Veterans Memorial, it's the first time seeing it with his granddaughter by his side.
Sort of deep. Yeah, it was touching, very touching. Been a while.
The planning for the day of celebration, honor, and gratitude was in the works for more than a year. They applied for last year's trip too late, so when the call came in for this year's flight, the decision was immediate.
This year, they sent us a letter, and we were like, oh my gosh, we're so excited. We had fun filling out the papers. We went to the doctor together. We picked out snacks for the trip. We've been talking about this for a year.
And she did all the work, and I just rode around. See, it's just like this. So I got the better part of the deal.
For Christine Vanetta Childs, catching a glimpse of her father and daughter's honor flight experience is nothing short of extraordinary.
I just keep coming back to the proud moment. It's just a proud moment to see them and to see them together. And I haven't seen my dad smile like that in a very long time. So it's good. I know they're tired, but I know it's a good tired.
As for Richard and Emily, a bond and their family's legacy are now cemented forever.
I wouldn't be here without her. That's true.
Wow, that is so awesome. They have such a fun and playful relationship.
They do. Their humor is on the same wavelength. Yeah. We were together interviewing them, and to see their joy being together and how they spent a whole year getting ready for this too.
Oh yeah, just to hear their stories kind of throughout the day, it was really an unforgettable experience for me as well. So I feel like I'm part of their family
right?
now.
Not
which
a
is all,
yes. Love it. That's great.
Mail call, mail call, mail call.
To top off a day allowing veterans the opportunity to reflect, remember, and celebrate their service came another surprise. This one 37,000 feet in the air.
That's right. Handwritten letters from family, friends, and officials putting thoughts into words that maybe they couldn't before.
And I captured those moments on camera. Let's take a look.
I love these letters. I am very surprised.
It's such a wonderful experience. It really is.
There's got to be at least 50 in here. I didn't know I had that many people who knew me.
I loved it, every minute of it.
It just opened my heart. I don't know what to say. God is so good.
And seeing some old pictures I hadn't seen in a while, it's been a great day. And having my granddaughter with me has made it just super.
I got a letter from my step-grandson and stepdaughter from Okinawa, and that was special. And they live in Okinawa, and how they knew, I don't know.
And I thank you all for letting me have one, sending it to me. I appreciate it. I do.
I haven't got to my wife yet or anybody, but the grandkids, they're great. They say they love you, love me, and that's more than enough.
Wow, what a beautiful way to end such a special day.
Oh man, just want to give each one a hearty handshake and a big hug, don't you?
Oh, totally. And you know, one of the big things too was that I was getting emotional.
Oh yeah,
you're seeing these people read these loving messages from their family, friends, you name it. It was very, very moving.
To end a long day filled with a lot of emotion, but each one so grateful they got to do it.
100%. Well, it has truly been our honor to share these stories with you.
Yeah, and one more reason, the real reason we're all here, the veterans themselves, they've been watching from the Challenger Learning Center all day or all hour, and you can see them right there. They're waving to the camera, and they're the real reason we do all of this and the reason we're all here, their ability to protect our country.
That's right. Absolutely. And we, of course, want to end our show by listing all 76 veterans honored on this year's flight. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.